Hi everyone. Today I'm going to explain you all the steps necessary to get a great six-pack. The key abs, it's made of two parts: diet and training. Most of us have heard this before. Abs are made in the kitchen, and while it's certainly true that you need to be sufficiently lean in order for your abs to show visibly through the skin, if they're not well developed, they just aren't going to pop. So before getting to how to train your abs, in order to make them look even better when you're lean, we have to quickly cover their basic anatomy. First, there are four main muscles that make up the midsection. Starting on the outside, you have the external oblique, which functions to flex the spine like in a crunch and compress the abdominal wall or increase intra-abdominal pressure. They also aid the back muscles in rotating the trunk and flexing laterally. Inside the external oblique, you have the internal, which primarily assists in rotation of the trunk flexing laterally. Inside that, you have the transverse abdominis, which compresses the abdominal and aids in core stability, which is why it's so active in so many different exercises and can be trained effectively by doing vacuums. And finally, the main muscle we'll be focusing on is rectus abdominis, commonly known as the six-pack, which flexes the lumbar spine like in a crunch and also contributes to trunk rotation. So, while I'm going to cover training methods that target the entire core musculature, I'm primarily focused on the rectus abdominis since it contributes most significantly to developing that ripped six-pack look most people are after. So some lifters says that as long as you include squats, deadlifts, and other compound movements in your training, then there's no need to train the abs directly, because squats and deadlifts are great for abs. Well, that's not true. In fact, squats and deadlifts actually don't activate the abs very well, which should be fairly obvious based on biomechanics alone. A study done on rugby players by Aspen colleagues found that the back squat was ineffective at activating the rectus abdominis. External oblique was netting less than 20% activation relative to momentary voluntary contraction, and the simple sit-up had more than twice the activation. Willards and Atala found the same basic thing, except even the less in favor of that a measly 10% for the overhead press and less than 5% for the squat and deadlift, and these were pretty heavy, 75% one-rep max loads. Hence, the idea that squats and deadlifts are good exercises for the abs is completely unfounded. In fact, Dr. Contreras suggests that if a woman is concerned with obtaining a blocky appearance, he'd recommend ditching the abdominal and oblique exercises rather than avoiding squats and deadlifts, presumably because isolation exercises actually target the abs, making them grow. So what are the best isolation exercises for targeting the abs? Well, crunch and sit-up variations are generally very good, which makes sense given that the primary function of the rectus abdominis is to flex the spine, and variations of the crunch and sit-up have been shown in the literature to elicit very high levels of abdominal activity. A 2009 study by Morris and colleagues published in the Journal of Physical Therapy and Sport found a trend for increasing activation with increasing load, lending support to the idea that weighted crunches are a good way to stimulate the rectus abdominis and apply progressive overload. However, there's been a negative stigma around crunches for some time, and whether they're safe or not remains a controversial topic. In an article by Drs. Schoenfeld and Contreras, they argue that there's no convincing evidence that performing crunches, as a part of a total body resistance training routine, will have any negative effects on posture, also touting potential benefits of crunches such as increased fluid flow to discs mobility, improvements, and performance enhancements. However, despite high activation levels and field-tested results with the crunch, there may be even better exercises. A 2008 paper from Udacity compared DMG activity of the main ab muscles in 4 different exercises: the crunch, the ab slide, the supine double leg thrust, and side bridge. The ab slide exercise produced the greatest DMG activity for the rectus abdominis, also did very well for the obliques. The double leg thrust also did really well for all muscles, generally overperforming both the traditional crunch and side bridge. Another study comparing EMG activity in 12 different ab exercises showed that it's possible to target upper and lower regions of the abs distinctly. So, the results showed that the lower abs were most activated with the hanging leg raise. This exercise brings the pelvis towards the chest, targeting the lower region better. Another surprising finding was that the reverse crunch didn't perform as well in this data. The reason is probably because this exercise is easy to perform, especially when done as a body weight movement. Therefore, it might be a good idea to load a weight between your ankles. For the upper abs, the arms extended crunch was best at targeting that region, with the hanging leg raise coming in second, further supporting the latter movement as a great overall abs builder. My recommendation for training abs will be including at least one crunch type movement and one leg raise type movement in your routine, so pick the ones you prefer and you like doing. And planks. According to the 2014 paper published in the Journal of Sports Biomechanics, the traditional front plank wasn't great at activating the core. So they modified the exercise, calling it as a long lever posterior pelvic tilt plank, which resulted in over 100% activation relative to upper, lower, and obliques abs, which is really impressive. So, to do this exercise, just move your elbow forward so that they're more under the eyes and squeeze your glutes as hard as you can. This exercise is quite difficult, especially if you're not accustomed to planks. Another great modification is to do weighted plank by placing a weight on your back in order to apply more tension. Also, research debunked the idea that doing abs on unstable surfaces is better for the abs, so you don't have to do them. As far as it concerns reps, there's no research to support ultra-high reps. So, also for abs, a combination of high reps and low reps is most likely to optimize development. So use a rep range that goes from 6 to 30 reps and you'll train your abs with the right intensity to grow them. They are muscle, just like your biceps, and you should train them the same way. Also, you don't need to train your abs every day, so doing 10 to 20 sets per week it's more than enough. Meaning if you train 3 times a week, you can perform 3 sets of crunches and 3 sets of hanging leg raise and get 18 total working sets, which is more than enough. However, you should adjust volume according to your individuality. Also, don't forget to work your lower back with exercises like Superman to ensure proper and balanced development. Anyway, you don't really need to do this if you do squats and deadlifts, which are great lower back exercises. With training in place, nutrition has to be tuned as well. So make sure to eat enough protein per day, 1 gram per pound of body weight or 2.2 grams per kilogram. But if you really want to get great abs, you should cut your body fat. So you need to get to a lower percentage of body fat. 10 to 12% will make your abs really visible. So make sure to be in a caloric deficit to lose weight. If you want to know more about diet and nutrition and why 95% of diets fail, check my nutrition book. I'll give you all the info you need to lose weight and keep it off for good. Hope you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share it with your friends. See you on the next one.